empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, point A to point B, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to the Morning Scoop. It is Friday, September 2nd. It is one day from kickoff. The big day is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. It is the home opener for your Ohio State Buckeyes. They play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 8 o'clock on ABC tomorrow night. I know that you guys are jacked up. I'm jacked up. So many things to be excited about. So many things that people are wondering about. New offensive line coach, new defensive coordinator. But the thing about a game like this is it brings in some mega talent for the weekend, for official visits and for unofficial visits. So there is going to be maybe as star-studded of a recruiting list as I've ever seen in the history of Ohio State football. So there's a lot to be excited about. But first, as always, I'm always very thankful, very grateful for you guys. You guys are the reason why we are who we are, why we are growing, why The Scoop is the #1 Ohio State fan site in existence. We absolutely love you guys. Thank you guys so much. For those of you that have not joined us in a premium fashion on our message board, it is an unbelievable experience. Bill Green has been going for 10 straight hours in his chat. Nevadabuck and I are bringing the heat with inside information. We have some young gunners in Joe Drame. We have the Oracle, who is one of the greatest, the foremost authorities on expansion talk, which he's been breaking news left and right. It's just been an outstanding experience. The helping technician had some great nuggets on the tight end room, and he's got some more coming in the next few days. So we have a ton of good inside information right now. So if you are a diehard Ohio State fan, Buckeye Scoop is the place for you. That being said, as always, thank you guys. Comment on, we're going to talk recruiting in this episode. Who is your favorite recruit of all time? The most excited you've ever been for a commitment? Was it Terrell Pryor? Was it Ted Ginn? Was it Dylan Raiola? There's a lot of big time kids that have come through the doors at Ohio State the last few years. A lot of major recruitments that we've won, under Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, even John Cooper, Ryan Day. So it's going to be exciting. The kid that we were about to talk about, I believe, is the #1 player in the class of 2023. He's a two-way player from Bosco out in Los Angeles, California. They just waxed Allen, Texas, a place at a 50,000 seat stadium or something of that nature in Texas. They went down there and smacked a Texas team in the heat. Really did a nice job, beat them. It was 50-10. It was a lopsided score. And Mateo did his thing. He caught a touchdown. He had a sack fumble. He's a devastating player, and he's a kid that I think that Ohio State fans might be getting to know a little bit more and more as we go on. That being said, I'm going to bring in my friend Nevada. Nevada, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. An exciting weekend. Got a lot of huge recruits coming into town, and that's great news for Ohio State because you need to get them into town just to have a chance at them. And Ohio State's going to have a chance at a lot of big timers this weekend. Like you said, it's about as big a weekend as I can ever remember.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be a very fruitful weekend. I mean, we're heavy favorites, so hopefully we'll get a nice win. The team can celebrate. The recruits can feel the excitement in the air at the stadium. So it's going to be a fantastic environment, and I'm really excited about this kid. So Mateo Uiagalelei, for those of you on YouTube, we got the film rolling of him. Here he is working out with Larry Johnson last summer. He did not make it back to camp this year, but he worked out with LJ. Deep ties in the Uiagalelei clan with Larry Johnson. Nevada, you had a spectacular nugget that I haven't heard anywhere else. Tell me a little bit about the relationship between Dave Uiagalelei, who is actually the father of DJ and Mateo, DJ being the starting quarterback for the Clemson Tigers, Mateo being the #1 player in the country. Tell me a little bit about Big Dave's relationship with Larry Johnson Sr.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, not a lot of people know this story, but, we shared this on Buckeye Scoop that, Big Dave, as they call him, had started out his part of his professional life as a bodyguard. And one of his prized clients that he was bodyguarding for was a person named Larry Johnson Jr., the star running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. So Big Dave, close to Larry Johnson Jr., but never really made the connection that Larry Johnson Jr. was the son of Larry Johnson Sr. So when he finally made that connection, he kind of felt like it was divine intervention that kind of brought him and guided them towards Ohio State. And he's grown really close to Larry Johnson, who he calls Pastor Johnson. And I think that closeness of that relationship, and along with the obvious success that Larry Johnson's had, coaching up this position, the scheme that Ohio State runs, just the overall experience. I think it's put Ohio State in a great position. And I know, some people as of late have said that Ohio State is out for Mateo, and I couldn't disagree more vehemently. I think Ohio State is absolutely in the game, and him coming out on an unofficial visit like this on his own dime. It's a long way to come from California to go out for these games. It's not easy to do, and he's doing it, and it's because he's got a legitimate interest. But I think it all goes back to that, that pre-existing relationship with Larry Johnson Jr. That led him to the father and Larry Johnson Sr. And I thought that was a really interesting story, and I think hopefully people thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, I think that sometimes things happen in life and you shake your head, and I think that Larry Johnson is the guy that if I had a kid who's talented enough to play defensive line in the country, he's the only guy I'd consider to raise my son, coach my son. I mean, he is the guy for defensive line development. I'm really excited to see what his guys do in this rejuvenated new scheme. That basically takes the shackles off these really good pass rushers. Like, these guys can basically use any move they want to get to the quarterback, and that wasn't the case last year. It's going to be a much more, I think, exciting defense for really talented pass rushers. And he's coached an incredible list of defensive linemen. He's starting, you Browns fans, Courtney Brown, who was, he made him into the #1 overall pick. Michael Haynes, Jimmy Kennedy, and then you get here, you get the Bosa brothers, you got Chase Young. I mean, these guys are all first round picks that I've named. Tom Bahali was a guy that I played against. You had Maurice Evans, really good players, does it the right way. He's a very interesting guy because he never swears. So he gets it out of these guys that he's not he's not a Nick Saban. He's not, like some of these coaches that really, they love the foul language. Like, he does not swear, but he's got that magical combination of intensity, but he doesn't go over the line when it comes to developing these kids, and he gets the most out of them. I mean, his kids would take a bullet for him. Guys like Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. I think that he did just wonderful things for their careers. Chase Young, obviously, and I think it's really for Big Dave. I mean, this one, it feels kind of like JT to Maloau. It feels like Dylan Raiola, where the development is kind of everything in this one. This isn't a cash grab NIL thing. This isn't a hey, I want to stay close to home. I think this is purely about what will make Mateo the highest likely to be the #1 overall pick in the draft in 3 years, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because if my kid was, it's like if a safety goes to play for Nick Saban, like, I can't fault him on that. I mean, Nick Saban's the greatest secondary coach in the history of football. So it's like, if we lose a safety to Bama, I never can fault a kid like Caleb Downs for doing that. And, with Mateo, man, and Larry Johnson, and then there's that kind of special connection between Big Dave and Larry Johnson, Larry Johnson Jr., Larry Johnson Sr. I think that it's really going to be, I think it's going to be a very interesting stretch. I think that Ohio State is the team to beat now, and I'm really excited about that. Nevada, who does Mateo remind you of as a player, as a prospect? You've been around for a lot of these huge 5-star, basically wars to get kids committed. You got to go beat Bama, you got to go beat Oregon, Georgia, Southern Cal. Who does he remind you of the most, maybe via his talent and also via how his recruitment is shaping up?
Well, from a talent standpoint, it's hard not to look at him and not think about Will Smith, who is I know somebody you had the pleasure of going up against when you were at Ohio State, and I think Will took you to school a few times when you were a young little sap there at Ohio Stadium. But I think for more recently, I mean, obviously you've got a Chase Young type of comparison. I mean, again, he's a top 5, top 2, top 1 player in the country type of situation. But, back to his recruitment just for a second, you got to remember, his brother went through a similar circus, and they went and chose Clemson. And I'm not sure Big Dave's happy with that decision. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure that it's gone well for him. I don't think he's progressed the way that he wants to. And I think that the family's very wary of getting, Mateo into the best development situation possible because I'm not saying his brother's flamed out, but his brother certainly has not lived up to the billing he had coming out of high school. And I think that again just plays to Ohio State's, advantage given the relationship with Larry Johnson Jr., Larry Johnson or Senior rather, Larry Johnson Senior's proven track record of success, coaching up this position, and the Jim Knowles defense, which really is going to unleash these guys and really allow them to shine. So I think Saturday night's a big game. It's a show me game for Ohio State on so many different levels. But certainly, the defense and having the defense show out would be such a big thing for recruiting because the OSU defense has been much maligned the last couple of years, and recruits have taken notice of that. And I think it's time to turn that narrative around, and I think it starts Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Clemson thing is interesting because they don't seem to be in the picture for Mateo, so I'm not sure what Big Dave's what his feelings are. What DJ's feelings are. They play Monday night against Georgia Tech. I mean, the whole world will be watching that and see if Clemson can bounce back because they were disappointing last year. I mean, they lost a couple of games, and they've had some really heralded guys that haven't panned out, and they're ever since Trevor Lawrence left, really ever since we knocked them out in the Sugar Bowl, they've kind of been on a little bit of a downswing. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it comes down the stretch. I know that USC is going to be very competitive. Oregon's going to be very competitive, but it's funny. Like, I don't want to be lazy with the comparison, but it feels like JT Tuimoloau, because that was so recent. It was a year ago, and you got a Polynesian kid from the West Coast who's the number one player in the country, and he's a defensive end. And I personally think they both could be Pro Bowl tight ends if they ever wanted to play tight end, because I think that they're really fluid, good players. But I think that the one thing about JT that really helps is he's a Polynesian kid. He's a fantastic player. He started as a freshman, so it proved to Larry Johnson is not scared to play a guy early. He's not scared to start a freshman. He's not scared to play a freshman a lot. And Mateo's that kind of guy. And I think depth chart wise, it is an excellent situation for Mateo because this year obviously we're very senior laden. Mateo would get here next year when you'd have the super sophomores turning into super juniors, which is Jack and JT. And there's a good chance that one or both of those guys could go pro if they have a big year this year. Obviously, that's putting the cart before the horse, but physically they're trending that way. I think if they take the major leap that we're expecting them to after a year in the weight room and in Jim Knowles' defense, that they both could be on the verge of leaving. And then so Mateo's starting as a true sophomore, and then he's on the verge of being a 3-and-out guy potentially. So I know that when these guys are these high draw talent guys and they want to go to the NFL as a 20-year-old third-year junior, you need to get developed, you need to get on the field, you need to produce. And I think that the way it sets up with the junior class that's going to be back next year to kind of teach him the ropes and keep the pressure off of him as he rotates in and plays a ton as a rotational D lineman, I think it really sets up nicely for him. Nevada, you've seen a lot of big-time defensive end recruits at Ohio State. Who are your top three? You can rank, you can go all the way back to John Cooper if you'd like, but who are the top three DNs if you're starting an all-time Ohio State team? And I said you get to pick three DNs in your rotation. What three guys are you taking?
Well, I mean, I'd go Will Smith, Nick Bosa, and then Joey Bosa with Chase Young right there, maybe. But just I love those Bosa brothers. But Will Smith's my all-time favorite player at Ohio State. I think he's the single most devastating defensive end that ever played the position at Ohio State. I just think he was a man playing against boys, virtually unblockable. Had to be held to even have a chance to block him, and set the tone for that national championship game with a huge sack on the first possession, and never looked back. So Will, rest in peace, was my all-time favorite, and always will be number one in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably keep the same list. I mean, I'm very close with the Bosa brothers. I love them both. Will was my favorite player just because I got to go against him in practice, and he was such a great player. But yeah, I agree. And Chase is right there. I mean, Chase, hopefully his knee heals up. He had that pretty severe knee injury last year, and he's on the PUP for the first 4 games. So I hope he heals back. Prayers up to Chase, man. He's a great kid. He's a beast on the field, and I look forward to seeing him in Washington. So, that being said, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. Any parting words? It's Friday of the Notre Dame game, Nevada. What are your thoughts? We're a day out. What are you thinking?
Well, I just think that the crowd is going to be electric. I think they've been putting up tailgating areas since like Wednesday, and never seen that before at Ohio Stadium. I mean, it's insane the build up on this game, and I think the atmosphere on Saturday night is going to be 2005 Texas X, and it's going to be crazy. And I just can't wait for kickoff. So go Bucks, and let's go have a big Saturday night.
Sounds great. All right, gonna lock this thing up. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much. You guys are really making a huge difference. Comment, favorite recruit, your favorite recruiting story that you followed, maybe the most excited you've ever been for a commitment. And also throw in who's your favorite defensive end in Ohio State history. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. I read every single comment. Love the guys. A lot of you guys are pretty funny down there, so I appreciate you guys. As always, like the episode, subscribe to the channel, click the little alert bell. We are cranking content just for you guys. I love your feedback. Appreciate you guys so much. If you want to take the plunge into premium, you guys really should try, because I think you guys would love it. BuckeyeScoop.com. We are going crazy with content right now. Tons of recruiting updates, tons of inside the information updates. Really having a blast on there in an amazing community. Some of the greatest people we ever meet are on BuckeyeScoop.com. Thank you to all of our patrons on there. That being said, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. As always, you guys have a great Friday. Go Bucks.